Today, I wanna do something fun. We've got, I don't know if you can read that, but we've got a chuck roast here. Not just any chuck roast. It is a bourbon and brown sugar chuck roast that I picked up at Aldi for $5.79 a pound. So this guy's 1.75 pounds, 1.68 pounds to be precise. And it is gonna be delicious. So if you don't know, this is where Sous Vide shines. Taking those lower priced cuts of meat, this was all of less than $10, and making them very comparable to more premium cuts. So if you don't know, this isn't just known as a chuck roast in the sous vide community. It's also known as the Sir Charles roast. It's known as the poor man's prime rib. And it's probably known that in broader communities too, but sous vide has the ability to make this taste like a much more expensive cut of meat. So I want to encourage you guys, if you guys see something that looks really interesting at the market, pick it up and sous vide it. It doesn't matter if it's pre-marinated. You don't need to do it your own way. It's okay to go with the more convenient setups, particularly if you get a good price on something. Why not? That's what we're gonna do today. So my plan is to go 135 will be the temp there. If you go a little lower, you can go down to something like 130, 132. That'll be more steak-like. And if you go up in temperature from the 135, it'll be more, call it pot roast-like, where it starts to shred a lot more. I like 135. This isn't a terribly huge piece of meat by any means as far as chuck roast goes, so 36 hours will be plenty for this one, I think. Generally, in terms of time, you're gonna go 24 to 48 hours. I generally like to stick to 36. When we go that long, it really helps break down what is a tougher piece of meat into something that's tender and really nice to eat. It's my 2 cents on time and temp. For chuck roast, I'm gonna vacuum seal this. I don't like to cook things in the original packaging just because I feel better doing it in my own vacuum seal bags. More precaution than anything else. And I'll pull that out. So today we're gonna be vacuum sealing with the Anova Precision Vacuum Sealer Pro. If you guys have been around a while, you know I'm a fan of it. Biggest thing to me is the fact that it has a double seal, a real true double seal that gives me real assurance, particularly when we're doing these long cooks, that seal isn't gonna break or anything of that nature. So let's do it. Look at that thing. It smells so good. I can't wait. I'm gonna have to wait 36 hours, no more. Well, let's start to bag it. Again, we're using the Anova Pro. I really like it. Always make sure you're going under the thing. I'm just gonna start by sealing it. So we're gonna close, seal. Like that. So we got a nice, beautiful double seal on the bottom. We're just gonna pull her out. Always use your meat to check the size. I don't think I can go horizontally because it's too thick. We're probably about 2.5 inches thick, and that should be good around there. So let's do that. We don't like using more bag than we need to, though I might. Don't go too small because then you'll just have to throw it away. So always flip your bags inside out at the edge so you're not getting those edges contaminated with meat. No one needs to get sick. I promise it's actually easier than I'm making it look. Stick her in. Voila. Yeah, I guess we could have gone horizontally. That's okay. Just to make sure the edge is in the vacuum channel. All right. And we're going to vacuum and seal. Meat in a bag. Sir Charles is in the bag. Now let's get our bath going. We're using the Innova Pro today. Solid machine. Like I said, we're gonna go with 135. Also like the fact that I can look at my phone to see what's happening, given it's gonna be 36 hours wherever I am. So that helps me quite a bit. Set the time, we're gonna go 36 hours. So, here we go. And we're off. Still gotta drop the meat in, but. Always use a cover when doing these longer cooks. So, I mean, they can be as simple as something like aluminum foil or something like that. But do use a cover. That way you don't run into any issues with water evaporating and your machine stopping because of it. And always a good idea to use a cover. The last thing we want is a disaster in your cook that you can't ultimately eat, because that would be really disappointing when you've been anticipating it for many hours. So we got to 135. So let's drop Sir Charles into the jacuzzi for 36 hours for some tender deliciousness. Here we go. See you in 36 hours. So 36 hours went by, and guess what? We had family plans come up, so we didn't eat it at the end of that 36 hours. But not to fret, because that's the power of sous vide. Again, I just threw it in the fridge. It was in there for about a week. We're about a week later now, and we're ready to eat it today because it fit our plans. So with sous vide, you actually, that 36 hours was many times, 5, 6, 7 times what you needed to pasteurize that steak. So that chuck roast. So it is good to eat a week later, just staying in the fridge. Magic sous vide. Love it. So we're gonna get it out of the bath. We'll take a look at it. We're gonna sear it, and then we'll take a taste of it. Can't wait. Stay tuned. So I'm gonna take that chuck roast out of the bath. We'll cut it. There's gonna be a lot of juice here. I'm not gonna save the juice today for any sauce. You can do that. You certainly can. I'm just trying to get my family fed quickly. It's a little past dinner time at the moment. So I'm gonna get rid of the purge. You're gonna find this beautiful chuck roast inside. Now, what we wanna do is we wanna pat it dry, because if we don't pat it dry, that's where searing becomes a problem. And you'll notice with the sous vide, kind of looks banal, not all that appetizing, but the sear is really gonna get us there. You got a pretty big fat cap here. We'll see what, we could actually cut that off. It's just melting off really. So it's super tender, came right off there. You can see, not atypical of chuck roast. There's several pieces there. They're sort of nothing to worry about. That's how the chuck roast is. But wait till we get to taste it. That's gonna be the good part. Again, you wanna pat it dry. If we don't, what happens is there's a bit of a steam barrier that occurs, and you end up not really cooking it with that hard sear that you want. So super important to dry that chuck roast before we put on the sear. We're gonna do a cast iron today. I actually have an enameled cast iron. It's getting warmed up right now. So we'll go over there, we'll sear it. I'm gonna use avocado oil. I like that because it's a neutral flavor, very high The heat rating on it is very high, so you can go 500 before it smokes, so the smoke point is very high. Perfect sort of setup for what we're trying to do today. We're using avocado oil. So I'm just gonna get my avocado oil in. Let that heat up a little bit. It's smoking, which is a great sign, and then we're gonna drop it in. Press it down to make sure I get that contact area all in. Good contact area. We'll go about a minute aside. So tender, it's just falling apart in that pan. We got a nice hard sear on it. And the point here is it should be done in about a minute because you don't want it to overcook. We got it the perfect temperature all the way through. The sear is just the finishing portion of it. So take a look at that. That is beautiful, perfect sear on there. That avocado oil for about a minute aside did a lovely trick. You can see the chuck roast it's got a lot of graining to it in different directions. So we're gonna cut off that piece there. There's also, you can see a line of fat that runs through there. So we'll just cut that off. And now I'm gonna cut against the grain here. And let's cut in the middle to see what it looks like. Oh, so tender, it's just like butter. But look at that, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful meat. Glistens, juicy beyond belief, and it feels so good. And let's keep slicing through it. Oh, just like butter. It's falling apart. But it still has a steak-like texture to it, so it's just wonderful. We'll stick with this part. But here, let me just show that to you. You can see how it's just super moist, beautiful. You can almost pull it apart. There's a lot of bend to it, and I can't help it. So good. And that bourbon brown sugar is really coming through. Just delicious. My family's gonna love this. I'm gonna finish carving it, but thanks for joining me.